Welcome to Temple University and the 20th Annual League for Entrepreneurial Women's Annual Conference. First of all, our hashtag for the day will be LFEW 2019. So please promote often. It's hard to believe that this conference is 20 years old. Our first year, we dreamed really big. There were two of us at that point in time, Monica Zimmerman Treichel and myself, and we invited entrepreneurs from science, banking, the media, IT, and travel and entertainment. They were Jill Felix, who passed away, Betsy Cohen, Joanne Harmelin, Jennifer Horrocks, and Julian Krinsky. We had probably 250 people, and everyone said, "You'll never do this again." But every year we amaze ourselves, and we have a full house. We have an amazing keynote speaker, we have an amazing conversation, we have wonderful entrepreneurs who are presenting their businesses and pitches from young entrepreneurs, and then we have our Hall of Fame. Every year, people share their amazing stories with a packed house of students, alumni, and community members. That first year, as a nascent organization, we could not have dreamed that 20 years later, we would stand before you today to tell you our little story of a group of three women, Monica Zimmerman Treichel, Betsy Barber, my colleague from Sport, Tourism, and Hospitality Management, and I, who believed we needed our own platform, our own voice. This year's theme is the power of telling your story. Thank you, Lisa Wang, for being here. As women, it's our responsibility to share our accomplishments and hardships to help shape a better future for the next generation of women that are to come, and men. Our keynote speaker has many extraordinary accomplishments. I'd venture to say that most of us in this room have never been an Olympic athlete or competed on a world stage. You have to believe in yourself, you have to be fierce, you have to be strong, you have to be you. Most importantly, you have to be able to articulate to others how you have come to be who you are. What's your story? For our speaker, having become a four-time U.S. national champion in rhythmic gymnastics, being inducted into the USA Hall of Fame, and being listed as one of Forbes 30 Under 30, she is a shining star for the world to see. When her gymnastics career ended, she built and sold the leading global female entrepreneurial platform, She Works. She then turned her focus to organizations that needed help when it comes to instilling an empathetic environment. She created a podcast to inform leaders about the importance of leading with empathy. Our guest strives to make a meaningful impact on the people that she encounters and is passionate about shaping the way organizations and people interact. Please join me in welcoming Lisa Wang.
What do you want? Such a simple question, and yet not always a simple answer. What do you want? As I go through the following questions, I want you to take the time to think about your answers for yourself. What do you want for lunch today? What do you want to achieve by the end of the year? What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want your life to look like 10 years from now? What do you want your legacy to be? When you're on your deathbed, thinking back to the things that you've done, what do you want others to have said about you? What do you want the impact that you made to have been? If the answers to these questions were hard for you, You're not alone. Most people never take the time to ask themselves these hard questions, to really dig deep down and ask themselves what they want from life. The problem with living like this is that when you don't think about what you want, you are at the mercy of what other people say, what other people do, and what other people want. And the problem with this is that your life is never your own. Standing here in front of all of you, I see a room full of potential leaders, creators, innovators, and builders. But potential is never enough. There's one thing you have to remember, and that is the only way to get what you want is to actually know what you want. Now, I'll tell you a bit about my story. But remember this as I go through it. Perfection. Perfection is something I worked towards my entire life. As the daughter of immigrants, I understood the high stakes of failure. As a student, I slaved for straight A's, but especially as a national champion gymnast, I mastered the art of perfection, from pointed toes to perfect posture and always the perfect position. Gymnastics brought with it prestige and perfect tens and applause, and boy, did it feel good. I was a shy child, and gymnastics gave me a stage upon which I could gain approval from coaches and judges and parents without ever saying a single word. I was good at being perfect. I was agreeable, I was hardworking, I was obedient, and so long as I kept my eye on the prize, my world was destined for perfection. By 2007, I'd earned the prize of 3-time US national champion. I had diligently checked off the boxes from state champion to regional champion to national champion to world champion to Pan Am champion, and now here I was nearly a decade later at the World Championships, the ultimate qualifier for the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games. I remember on that day, standing on the edge of the mat, prepared to do my final routine. Everything had been perfect up to that point. But this time, as the music crescendoed, so too did the volume of expectations in my head. This time, I remember looking out in the crowd and seeing the piercing gazes of the judges and the faces in the crowd, and feeling the pressure to achieve a decade-long dream. They say all it takes is a flash of doubt. And on that day, doubt determined my fate. Sure, I had been national champion for 3 years in a row, but when it came time to qualify for my Olympic dream, I stumbled. I ended up missing qualifying for the Olympic Games by a mere 0.25 tenths of a point. And on that day, everything I believed about myself shattered. I thought I wasn't good enough, I didn't work hard enough, I wasn't prepared enough. And that is the insidious nature of perfection. Nothing is ever enough. Enoughness. The only dictionary definition for this word is the state or condition of being enough. Sufficiency. Adequacy. But this definition, ironically, is not enough. A quick show of hands, how many of you have ever felt, I'm not smart enough, I'm not experienced enough, I'm not cool enough, I'm not making enough money, I'm not getting enough recognition? everyone in this room. These are the feelings, these are the chips on our shoulders that drive us. But they're also feelings that come from deficiency, from scarcity. For me, I finally glimpsed what it meant to feel like enough just a few years ago, and I'll illustrate that with another story. A few years ago, I was biking, and I got to a really interesting art exhibit. I went into this art exhibit, and in this room, it was just big, sprawling white walls, and it was completely empty. But for the very back of the room, there were 6 large words in all capital letters, and they said, "Before I die, I want to." And in this exhibit, they had thrown markers all over the floors so that over the course of the next week, people could pick up these markers and write all the things that they hoped for before they died. So I came back a week later to see what had happened to these walls. And when I came back, I saw that people had written things, they'd written hopes for family, for love, for career, for legacy, but there was one inscription in the bottom left corner that caught my eye. It was so small, but all it said was, "Before I die, I want to make myself proud." And I thought about that when I went home that night, and for some reason, it didn't feel quite right. And it finally occurred to me what was wrong with that phrase. There is a significant difference between trying to make myself proud versus simply being proud of myself. And here's how I saw the difference. In the first scenario, imagine an empty bucket. This is your life. You are the empty bucket, and as you go through life, you keep filling up this bucket with all the things that society has told you will make you proud and make you happy. Fancy cars, job titles, money, great apartments, great clothes, whatever it is that society has said you should want. And as I thought about this, all the things I had done to try to make other people proud, thinking that that was actually trying to make me proud, I realized I'd thrown all these stuff in the empty bucket, and in my quest to achieve external metrics of success, at the end of the day, I was still just the empty bucket. In the alternative scenario, now imagine a tree. Imagine a forest of trees, and now you are a tree, and this is your life. The tree is not trying to reach for all the other trees and take their fruit. Instead, it realizes that in order to grow taller and stronger, it needs to focus on its roots. And that's water, getting the right nutrients, connection to the earth, and connection to others. And as it's growing taller and stronger, it's not trying to make anyone else proud. It is simply proud of itself for being on its journey. It's simply proud of itself for being. And only when it grows tall and strong enough can it start to bear fruit for other people. So, it's important to ask yourself what your fears are What are the fears that are driving you? Because so many of us achieve, and even when we successfully achieve our goals, we soon realize that success and enoughness do not come hand in hand. This empty bucket mentality is especially true for the overachievers, the perfectionists, the people that we think should have no problem having any issue feeling like they're enough. But the problem is, when we have this mentality, every subsequent success is not something to be celebrated. It is, in fact, just another proving ground to do more and more and more. So it's important to ask yourself this one question. How are you complicit in creating the situations you most fear? When I lost the Olympic Games, my biggest fear was failing. My biggest fear was letting other people down. My biggest fear was letting myself down. And yet that was exactly what happened, because I came from fear. I didn't come from abundance. So this brings me to the first important trait that all great leaders possess: self-awareness. Awareness is the ability to recognize within yourself the fears and desires that are motivating you. Because once you start becoming a leader, you are no longer responsible just for your own fears and your own dreams. You are suddenly responsible for the fears and dreams and experiences of everyone else. But at the end of the day, as a leader, you are driving the vision. Therefore, the only way to attain that vision is to know what you want. So back to that moment where I missed the qualification. At that moment, I had an important decision to make. Because that same week, I received an acceptance letter to my dream university, Yale University in Connecticut. And I had to decide if I was going to quit gymnastics on that note or do something else. And so I thought to myself, well, at the end of the day, I'm certainly not a loser. And I most certainly am not a quitter. And so I did the hardest thing that I knew possible, and I told Yale I'm not coming. Not this year. Instead, I bought a one-way ticket to Russia. I went to the Russian Olympic Training Center in Novogorsk, the most rigorous training center in the world. Imagine Siberia in the middle of winter. And I committed to training for the next 9 months to become the best possible gymnast I could become. But for the first time, it was for no one else. It was for myself. It was for my own journey. And while I was there, 6 days a week, we'd wake up every morning, 6 a.m., have a small breakfast of stale white bread, a tomato, cucumber. They'd weigh us in the morning, we'd train for 4 or 5 hours, we'd have a quick lunch, they'd weigh us again, and then we'd train again for another 4 or 5 hours. So we were training 9 hours a day, and I did this almost every single day for the next 9 months, training, traveling, and competing across Europe. Until my final competition. 9 months later, I arrived at the USA National Championships in 2008, and there, I won every single gold medal, Athlete of the Year, got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and then I said, all right, peace. Now I'm out. So this brings me to the second trait that I believe all great leaders possess, and that's anti-fragility. Anti-fragility is the ability to grow stronger from the things that hurt you. because your wound may not be your fault, but your reaction and your healing is your responsibility. Anti-fragility is the ability to fight for the things that you want. It is not enough to just know what you want. You actually have to be willing to go up again and again and again to fight for it, no matter how many roadblocks are in your way. So, after I retired from gymnastics and I entered the real world, I thought I was good. I started my first job at a hedge fund in New York, realized very quickly that I was not built for the corporate world. And I started my first venture. I started a food tech company and was able to get into a top accelerator, but then I went fundraising. I entered Silicon Valley, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, excited to go into the world of venture capital. And I remember in my first investor meeting, I walked in with my 35-year-old white male COO, and the investor walks over to him, shakes his hand, and brushes me off as the assistant. And it was in that instant that I realized that no matter how many things I had done, that perhaps it would never be enough. I realized that for the majority of women, it's not about some of the big, egregious stories we hear in the news. It's actually about the small paper cuts. Getting undervalued, overlooked, ignored, assumed as inferior. These are the paper cuts that really wear women down over time. And this time, I also didn't let myself wallow. I didn't get upset. I chose to do something. From that experience, I realized that I wasn't the only person going through it, and I wanted to be around other women who could empathize with the journey, but more importantly, I want to create a space for women to be able to build meaningful relationships with investors and get funded. Today, women still only receive 2.2% of overall venture funding. Women of color receive less than 0.2% of venture funding. I founded SheWorks with the mission to close the funding gap by collaborating and not competing. We've brought together over 20,000 female entrepreneurs to connect with the right investors, to gain the education, and to gain the mentors necessary to build successful companies. And so, as I was building this, I realized the most important thing that we were doing was changing the narrative. We were changing the narrative of what's possible because we live in a world that tells us we have to crush it, and we have to kill it, and we have to be great. And sometimes you just have to ask, how can I be great if I don't even feel like it's enough sometimes? When I discovered SheWorks, I discovered what I call the enoughness moment. The enoughness moment is the moment at which your own shame and insecurities begin to pale in comparison because you've realized that you have a duty to serve other people. I had spent a significant amount of my life being painfully introverted. Certainly not being able to speak in front of all of you today. Feeling inadequate. Feeling like I didn't deserve things. Having this weird chip on my shoulder where I constantly felt like I had to prove something to others. And then I discovered that. I discovered that my duty to serve other people outweighed my own small insecurities. And so this brings me to the third trait that I believe all great leaders possess: abundance. Abundance is the ability to trust. To trust that what you know deep down is okay, it's right. And to trust that you can build a better future, that your voice, that your work matters. And that if you stick with it long enough, and you are certain about your mission, and you're certain that you're here to serve other people, that things will change. So, today we talked about awareness. From the beginning, I asked you an important question: what do you want? And now we know that this question, what do you want, doesn't really have a simple answer. But it is so important to take the time to ask yourself that question and know what you want, because the only way to get what you want is to know what you want. Anti-fragility. Once you know what you want, you actually have to fight for what you want, because no one else, at the end of the day, will fight for it except you. And abundance. The ability to not just know what you want and fight for what you want, but to actually trust that what you want is right. So, just remember this. Trust what you want, trust in your abilities to make it happen, and trust that that is enough. Thank you. I guess we can open it up for Q&A. If that's something that people would like. Thank you. Or I have a question. What did you guys learn from this presentation? What did you think about? Does anybody know what they want? Yeah.
I just want to say thank you. I am so emotional right now. Stop, Sherry. I felt every word, and I was on a journey, and I stopped because I thought I wasn't good enough. But because of this presentation today, I'm going to go home, and I'm going to do what needs to be done, because I am enough.
You are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought it was a terrific presentation, but I wanted you maybe to address the discipline it took, because you going to Russia and being there 9 months clearly showed that you were going to go and do whatever it took. So how do you relate that to everybody about being so disciplined in whatever they have to do to get to where you've even gotten, even outside of gymnastics?
I would say that one of the things I notice about a lot of people is that there are way too many priorities in their life. So a lot of times you wake up in the morning and probably your to-do list has about 20 items and maybe 100 emails in your inbox. So I think one of the things that I learned early on is that the ability to focus is the ability to say no to a lot of those priorities. They say, you know, in the morning, wake up and write your top 3 priorities, and you should probably look at the third one and assume that it's not going to happen. So I think of it like that. When I was a gymnast, I had two priorities. I had gymnastics and academics. And those were really the only two priorities I had. And so as a result, I didn't go to parties, I didn't have a social life, I didn't have many friends, but I was able to justify that for myself because I knew what it would take to achieve, because I wanted it so badly. And I think it's really, there's learning how to cultivate what you want. It's like, if you want it badly enough, you'll fight for it, right? And you'll figure out the things you have to sacrifice and what you need to focus on. And I think that's just applicable to anything today, right? There's a lot of things that are superfluous and really just a waste of time. Well, my dad was a very hard worker, so he immigrated to the US when he was 28. My mom is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. So I would say that part of them immigrating to the US and not coming from much, I think I definitely felt some sort of need to prove myself. And I saw how hard they worked to give me a better life, and so I think I felt like I had to fulfill that. But they always made sure that I was supported and happy.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for your presentation. I think for our generation, we're pressured to be the best, do your best, kill it, like you said. How do you shift that thinking every day from I'm not doing enough or I'm chasing something to what I've done is great, I'm living in this moment, I'm appreciating how far I've come, and yet I still have some way to go, but I'm not letting that pressure weigh me down? How do you shift your thinking? What do you do every day to fix that?
One of the questions that is important to ask yourself is this going to matter 5 years from now? Is it going to matter a year from now? And it's that ability to zoom out, which is also why I asked that question in the beginning, what do you want your life to look like 10 years from now? Because the reason why we react to things and we get so worked up by it is because we're so close to it, right? We see this thing and we feel the pressure and we feel like it's a life or death situation when really it's not. And so the ability to think about what's the goal, what's the thing you want to achieve, let's call it 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and will this particular crisis or this pressure or this decision really make a difference in the long term? And I think that's it's something I call metacognition, right? Metacognition is you are here and I'm experiencing whatever I'm experiencing and you're experiencing whatever you're experiencing. But sometimes you kind of rise above yourself and you observe as your 10 years away self, does this matter? Is this really as important or as much of a crisis as I think it is? And so what that does is it allows you to be a bit more present. And part of it is just simply having gratitude. And it's not just gratitude for other people and other things, but gratitude for yourself. So I'll give an example of an exercise that I did to help me with this. So you may have heard about something called the gratitude journal. And the gratitude journal is when you wake up every morning and you write down all the things that you are grateful for. And I did this for a month and I noticed a pattern. And that was every time I wrote what I was grateful for, it was for things like a warm bed, I'm grateful I live in New York, I'm grateful I have friends, I'm grateful I have family. But I was never grateful for myself. And so I flipped it the second month, and it wasn't just a gratitude journal, it was a gratitude for self, it was a self-gratitude journal. So I would say things like, I'm grateful that I've been able to overcome X challenges. I'm grateful that I've been a good friend. And you're not allowed to repeat the same things. So what I found myself after 30 days writing is small things was, I'm grateful that I held the door open for someone. And then when you start noticing all the things that you're grateful for yourself, your internal dialogue starts to change. And so a lot of the things that you're talking about, this pressure, it's all internal, right? It's like you're pressuring yourself to feel like you have to do something. And you're pressuring yourself because you're caring too much what other people think. And so when you do this exercise, which is something that I recommend doing, you start focusing on all the great things about yourself, and that energy that you have within actually starts translating outside.
Wonderful presentation. That was very inspirational.
Thank you.
And a little gift from us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll let Lindsay fix that. Well, good morning. I am Betsy Barber with the League for Entrepreneurial Women, and I have the best job today ever. I get to introduce to you one of the most dynamic women I have ever met, and it's just a blessing that she's here with us today because I get to introduce our moderator, Sheila Hess. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background on Sheila because there's so much to tell. She is just, like I said, one of the most dynamic women, but at the end of the day, for her to give up her morning for us was just a real coup. So Sheila Hess was appointed to the position of city representative by Mayor Jim Kinney in 2016. Her office serves as a premier PR, marketing, and promotional department for the city of Philadelphia, producing ceremonial and special events while celebrating Philadelphia's diversity through citywide creation of community engagement and innovative experiences. Her foray into civic service in her beloved city is a dream come true. She relishes the opportunity to tell the city's positive story, connecting the perfect union of projects and people with pride, passion, and purpose. Prior to working for the city of Philadelphia, she worked for many years in Independence Blue Cross and the IBC Foundation as Director of Programs and Community Affairs. She's currently serving on a variety of different nonprofit boards. Sheila, I don't know how you do it all. I wish I had half of your energy because it's just phenomenal. She's serving on the board for the Police Athletic League, POW. She's working with Variety Children Charity of Philadelphia, which provides assistance to children and youth with physical and developmental disabilities, the Marian Anderson Award, and Back on My Feet. She also serves in tourism and hospitality boards to promote the city that serves persons with disabilities, disadvantaged, and underserved, such as the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau, Visit Philadelphia, and Historic Philadelphia. Now bear with me, I'm going to go through a whole series of awards that she's won because they're numerous. In 2018, she was awarded Ambassador Award from Variety, the children's charity. In 2017, she received a Special Recognition Award from the Legal Clinics for the Disabled. She was named a Woman of the Year honoree, Unmasking the Legacy Award from Philly Man, Jersey Man magazine. That's something I had not heard of before, but that's an interesting magazine. In 2016, she was awarded the Philadelphia Pinnacle Award from her alma mater, St. Maria Goretti High School in South Philly. She was recognized as one of Philadelphia's Business Journal's 40 Under 40 in 2007. She's earned the distinction of one of Philadelphia's top 101 emergency connectors by Leadership Philadelphia in 2016. She garnered the national attention of ESPN Radio, WDAS Radio's Women to Watch program, and was identified as one of 5 Philadelphia women's moving the needle in the City of Brotherly Love by Philadelphia Style magazine. And recently she was identified as a remarkable woman and featured on the radio segment of 98.1 WOGL. Temple University graduate, Temple maid from the Fox School of Business. And she was the recipient of the 2010 Temple University Young Alumni Diamonds Excellent Award. So please, please help me welcome Sheila Hess, our moderator for the morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Betsy. Am I on? Okay. Betsy, thank you so, so much. Good morning, everybody. How are you? What a great way to kick off. We are here to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the League for Entrepreneurial Women's Conference. So it's an honor to be here, and I want to thank Betsy again for this incredible opportunity to come back home to my alma mater, to be here with such talented individuals, and to learn from all of you, and to hear what you want to know from all of us. But this is not only the 20th anniversary, a milestone, but it's also part of another Philadelphia first, is part of the BPHL Innovation Festival. So that is something that the city started Yesterday was the first day. It's a 3-day innovation festival, and you think innovation, you think technology, you think healthcare, but this is something that's so unique, and this is about arts and culture and business and film and all kinds of innovation opportunities right here in the city of Philadelphia. And this session today is part of that because we have some extraordinary women leaders here that they're going to tell their own story, but I just want to introduce to you and keep some questions at the end because we're going to turn the floor to you because this is what the session is really all about, to learn from you. So we have to your far left, we have Charisse McGill. She's the owner and producer of Local Artisan Foods. She's part of the French Toast Bites. I had the opportunity to taste them on many, many occasions when I'm down in Northern Liberties at the Piazza. They are absolutely delicious, so I'll let her tell her story in a few moments. We also have in the center, we have Avi Lauren Fox, the founder of Wild Mantle, and I know that itself is intriguing and you want to learn about what that is, and she's going to tell you that story. It's quite inspiring. And to your far right, we have Adriana Vasquez, CEO of Lilu, and this is an incredible story that she's going to share with you, her vision and being the brainchild behind this. So let's kick it off, and Charisse, if you want to tell your story. Okay. Oh. Sorry.
Can I take this? Hello? Hi. Can I take this off? Oh, we'll leave it on. There we go. Hi, everyone. My name is Avi Lauren Fox, and I've been a small business entrepreneur since I was a kid. My first business was a pet sitting business, and I'm here to tell a little bit about my story, which actually started when I was here at Temple. I'm 33, so over the last decade plus, I've had a variety of enterprises. And I'll focus primarily on Wild Mantle, but I want to give you a little overview. How do I? The slides? Okay. Oh, there we go. So while I was here in college at Temple, I grew really passionate about the environment, and I started a nonprofit in my community called Narberth Greens. And through this, I learned how to mobilize people around a goal. And in this case, it was around learning to live in a more sustainable way and raise our awareness. And so some of our accomplishments include getting our mayor to sign the Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement, which allowed us to do a greenhouse gas emissions inventory and write a climate action plan for the borough. We also created a vegetable exchange, which allowed us to swap our surplus locally and create more of a local food system. So after I graduated, I ended up taking a turn into the creative realm and started a photography business with my older brother. I very quickly learned commercial photography, rounded up weddings and bar mitzvahs, got to travel, and really learned how to tell stories through photographs. And today's all about storytelling, and this was a huge part of my entrepreneurial journey because it really focused on that. And I'm still running the photo business today. It's almost 8 years old and going strong. But what I'm really here to talk about is Wild Mantle. And when I was in my mid-20s, had the photo business going, it was great. And I was like, you know, I really want to learn more about business. I had this hooded scarf that I had worn and made out of some sweaters. And when I wore it out, people would stop me and they'd say, "What is that? I want one." And before I knew it, everyone was trying it on, and they were like, you know, I feel so empowered like a warrior when I wear this thing. And they were also like, I feel so cozy, like it's a hug. And I started to realize that these were two really important things for women in particular to feel when you want to go out in the world and do whatever it is you're passionate about. And so I built the brand Wild Mantle. I launched a Kickstarter campaign, and over the next few years, it grew into a small lifestyle brand with customers all across the world. And so I put some highlights on this slide. The way that I got the word out was something that I learned through Narberth Greens, my first venture, which was really to leverage my community. I I did a Kickstarter campaign. We crowdfunded $40,000 one year. The next year we did a summer collection and crowdfunded $50,000. We got celebrities to wear them. This was before social media and the algorithm, so when everything was like, you could post something and everyone would see it. It's great. And we got a lot of local press. I was able to give a TEDx talk and really got to live and be this brand over the last, 5 years. And so today I want to we only have a few minutes, and I'm guessing that I'm almost out of time. So I want to talk a little bit about this quote, which is my current inspiration for my next steps as I figure out where I want to take this brand and how I'm going to kind of tackle the next leg in my entrepreneurial journey. I love small business entrepreneurship for the freedom that it provides, for the creativity, the fact that I can kind of pivot and work on one project, and then if I'm done, I can go work on another. And so, happiness when you're an entrepreneur isn't something that you think you're going to achieve someday when you reach certain milestones of sales or of followers, right? That's something with social media that we all get really hung up on. It's really something that you cultivate every day in the work that you're doing. And so I wanted to leave you with the idea of designing your happiness in the present moment, and Lisa talked a lot about knowing what you want. And I think that every day it's important to live a little bit of whatever your vision or dream is, whether it's making a really delicious cup of Bengal spice tea with Oatly milk and putting it next to your laptop and being like, this is the dream that I always had. I'm living it right now. Because if you do that little by little, then you'll be living the life that you always wanted. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak with everyone. I'm excited to hear from the other amazing women up here.
All right. Thank you so much, Abby. And up next, now we have Charisse McGill from Local Artisan Foods, who's going to share with you her innovation story.
Lindsay, the sound is off. Is that correct? Okay. I don't want Jay-Z blaring speakers. There we go. In January 2018, I made a decision to return to school to get an MBA in food marketing. Most people go back to school to get a better job, get a promotion, and I was just like, I don't want to spend $50,000 on another education to get another company rich, to help another company reach their $1 million sales goals. I said, I'm going to go back to school and help my company reach my $1 million sales goals. That was January 2018. November 15th, 2018, I resigned from my day job at Valley Forge Military Academy as a director of special events. Shout out to the School of Tourism for preparing me for a role like that. Class of 03. I resigned from my day job. It was a great job, but I knew I wanted more. So that was November 15th, 2018. November 17th, 2 days later, I opened up my French toast business smack in the middle of Philadelphia at our annual Christmas Village festival. That festival lasts for 45 consecutive days, closed on Thanksgiving, closed on Christmas. In that 45 days, my gross sales totaled 3/4 of the salary that I left behind. This is a little video. In that same time, on December 17th, 2018, within that same window, I told Allison Steele of the Philadelphia Inquirer that I wanted to be the Auntie Anne's of French toast. It made the cover, and my life changed. Fast forward 11 months, I have a permanent location called French Toast Bites in Northern Liberties. I have a signature spice blend that's sold in 12 stores. I was able to enter a license agreement with the largest regional grocery retailer in our area. And what else do I have? And over 110 events. I have about 40 more to go before the year is out, but we've done 60 events so far. and it's been a whirlwind. It's been fantastic. So a lot of people ask me, how did you do that? Like, what made you do that? How did you do that? And I was like, it's very simple, and these are the only three things you ever need to know. Be consistent. I showed up every day at Christmas Village. It was 30 degrees some days. It rained some days. It was snowed some days. Guess who was there serving French toast? That's what that line is in the picture. Christmas, but that's right in front of City Hall. Be consistent. Be consistent in your offerings. So many people say, you should add eggs. Does Auntie Anne serve eggs? I always tell people, I told you I want to be the Auntie Anne's of French toast. I want to be in the same arena as Auntie Anne, Cinnabon, Mrs. Fields, because they own those 3 spaces right now. So stay consistent. We did extend our menu to include vegan because on June 1st, we vended at the Roots Picnic at Mann Center, and Questlove, whose concert it is, he's vegan. And I said, I'm not rolling up to Questlove's concert without a vegan version of our French toast. 35% of our sales that day were vegan. We were the only vegan option. And so when we opened up our restaurant in Northern Liberties a week later, I had called my graphic designer and said, add vegan to the menu. And so now to this day, vegan French toast is 30% of our sales. Be consistent. Stick to what you said you were going to do. Now, a vegan French toast is just a line extension of what we do, but it's still French toast. That's what we do. So we stay very consistent in doing that. I'm going to skip number 2 because that's like the point I want to drill down on. And then plan ahead. A term that I hate, and this is an unpopular opinion, but a term that I hate is side hustle. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I planned ahead. I had a day job. So here's why I don't like side hustles. Let me back up. I don't like the term side hustle because side hustles do not have business plans. They do not have trademarks. They do not have business insurance. They are side hustle. I have a very best friend. She's a little kooky. She's one of those weird coupon people who drives the 6 CVS's to get Tide Pods to sell them on Saturdays at flea markets. To me, that's a side hustle. That's a side hustle. I went back to school, invested $50,000 in education, so I would build a French toast empire and not have a French toast side hustle. Plan ahead. Number 2, know what you sell. People are like, you sell French toast? No, I don't. I make French toast. That's what I make. So you will go much further in life, in your business, if you know the difference between what you sell and what you make. People weren't in line for 35 minutes in 30-degree weather because I only sold French toast. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Cherise. And up next, we have Adriana Vasquez from Lilu, who's going to share her story.
Hi, everyone. I am so happy to be here in this room full of joy and positivity. I am Adriana Catalina Vasquez Ortiz. I am the CEO and co-founder of Lilu, where we build technology that empowers new moms. I love the topic of the conference today. As an entrepreneur, telling your story is something that we're doing all the time. We're pitching consumers, to potential new hires, to investors, and in the end, it's all about the story we tell. And for Lilu, I am still writing and rewriting that story. So what I wanted to tell you today is the story of how I came to start Lilu. You may recall I told you we build technology that empowers new moms. Well, let me tell you a secret. I am not a mom, and I'm also not an engineer, not really. So how on earth and why am I starting and building a company that builds tech for new moms? It's a bit of a long story, but I'll try to keep it to 4 minutes. Around 4 years ago, before I even knew what breast pumping was, I had to make a presentation of where I wanted to be in the future. And little did I know that that presentation would keep me up for many nights in a row because I knew I wanted to be a designer. I was doing my master's in product design at Penn. But even calling myself a designer was something I didn't feel ready to do. I have an undergrad degree in maths with computer science. And then I worked a few years in fintech. So what does that have to do with design? Well, it didn't matter. I knew that I was some sort of designer. So I did what a good computer scientist would do, and I broke up the question in bits and pieces. I decided to look at my past and what had taken me to the place where I was today. What things influenced my life and my character? I knew where I wanted to be in the future, and I thought of the present. This is the time that I have to make sure I'm taking the actions that will allow me to get from my past to my future. So, on my past, I grew up in Mexico City. My parents are lawyers, and they worked in the government for many years. But on their free time, we would travel the country to spend time giving legal advice to underprivileged families. We focus on indigenous communities. And seeing my parents there and meeting families with kids that were my age, that had no access to education, that had to walk miles and miles for water, it just opened my eyes to the devastating consequences of inequality. But it also opened my eyes to how beautiful and powerful opportunity can be. When people choose to make time to give back to others, you can make such a difference and see such a transformation. I love the story behind this picture. A basketball coach, unsatisfied with his own career, decided to move to a city, to a town, and teach these indigenous kids how to play basketball. They loved it so much and they were so successful, and they went on to play in Argentina at a global championship. And they won that championship. But as you can see, they were playing barefoot. And people were so surprised, like, how are these kids winning and playing barefoot? So the international community and the coach continued to raise funds to take them to travel to different places. They even went and were able to meet the San Antonio Spurs. So why does it matter? It matters to me because I realized that I had been given an opportunity and that I had the opportunity and responsibility perhaps to give back. So it doesn't matter what I would be doing, what sort of a designer I would be, as long as I would remind myself that I had that responsibility. My opportunity that was given to me is that people believed in me. I was given a great education by very hardworking parents. And my high school teachers, they all pulled together to support me. I remember when I was 15 at lunch break, one of the most feared high school teachers came to me and she said, "Adriana, I've heard great things about you. I think you're gonna love my class." And I did. She was my computer science and maths higher level teacher for the next 2 years. She opened my eyes to the world of programming. And from there, I realized I had this love for robotics and smart objects. At that time, I also realized I love to create interactive experiences. There are certain things that you can't achieve on the digital world, that you will still need that tactile and that physicality. So to get to that point, to build those smart objects, what I needed to do was to educate myself. I was starting to teach myself about microcontrollers, challenge myself building autonomous hockey-playing robots, and I was learning to embrace my love also for aesthetics and design. But how could I combine all of it? I wasn't sure, but I realized that combining technology and all these things that I loved would bring me so much joy. And I hoped that if I would focus on that, I could build other things to bring other people joy. So this is what I realized. It doesn't matter what sort of designer I was or what I would be working on, as long as there were these 3 pillars. Work on something that would bring joy to other people, work on something that would allow me to give back, and something that I felt was cutting edge, to keep that edge on my love for technology. And I realized that the best way to get there, and this is how I ended that presentation 4 years ago, was to build my own company. I didn't know what, or when, or even how, but for the first time in life, I was open to that possibility. And after that, things happened really quickly. I learned about how breast pumping is really difficult for women. I felt so disappointed that something that I love so much as technology had failed women. And so I dived deep and started to think, how could we use technology to change things? One of the things I realized was that breast massage could really help, so I built prototypes to figure that out. And this is where I was maybe around 3.5 years ago. This was my first prototype for our first product, which we launched this past August. This is the Lilo Massage Bra, which I believe combines a lot of the things that I've told you about today. It's technology, it gives me an opportunity to give back to women, and I hope that Lilo is the beginning of a company that allows me to bring joy to people's lives and to give back. I hope that you enjoyed hearing my story and that you enjoy and love writing your own.
Yes, we did love hearing your story, so thank you for sharing that. And it's so interesting to see 3 different paths that these ladies have moved on to, knowing that with Sharice, you're like, okay, I'm done my job. I want to do something else. I want to do something that I love. You're doing that. Adriana, you wanted to give back. You felt that there was something that was missing, a void that you can give back on, and you created this amazing product. And then with Avi, you're like, you're getting lots of compliments, and people are like, I want one. How do I get that? And you're like, you know what? Let me create this into a business and start something that I have that people want. If there's a need and an opportunity out there, let me go for it. So I know we all have been in those situations ourselves, and we think it would be nice, but we don't take that next step. You ladies have done that. So we applaud you for that, and this is what today's event is all about, the Entrepreneurial Woman. So tell me a little bit about some of the, and I know it's positive, and it's not always a smooth sailing, like this is what I want to do, you put it on paper, you create your plan, and you execute, and you do it, and you get the partners, you get the money, you get that. What has been the first step to say, this is what I'm going to do, and here's who I need to reach out to, because it is about storytelling, and this is what gets the product sold, right? Based on the market and based on our brand, based on the trust. So I guess we'll start then with your mantle. How did you first, I know you talked about the community, engaging the community with that product, as far as messaging and getting the word out about your product.
Oh, it's on. Okay, good. So for me, the first step with Wild Mantle was being receptive to what people were saying to me. And that was actually a really important step, because I could have said, oh, thanks, it's just this thing that I made, like, you know, I'm like, wait, I'm looking for my next thing, and people are saying that they like that. So maybe I should take their name and add it on a list, and if I get a dozen people, I can email them and say, do you want to buy one? So it was engaging with the opportunity to say, yes, I'm going to recognize this, and I'm going to take the action steps to follow it. And in terms of actually mobilizing that community, it's a lot of what I learned through Narberth Greens, which I think I just do naturally. I think, oh, let's organize everyone, and, you know, email lists or planning events or just communicating and creating a community around whatever it is that's happening.
Now, all your products are made here in the U.S.
Yeah.
They're sustainable, correct? Where would you have a website? You can order the products online?
Yeah, it's wildmantle.com, and we have 2 collections. One's made at a knitting mill in Colorado. It's a B Corporation knitting mill. And all of most of the materials that I source whenever possible have some sustainability aspect, like alpaca, because they're better for the land than other types of livestock, or organic cotton and whatnot. And then another collection is made here in just outside of Philadelphia, and that's made out of reclaimed sweaters.
Now, do you have a storefront?
I don't have a storefront.
Now, where would your ideal location be for a storefront?
The internet.
Okay.
Well, I have dreamt about a storefront from time to time, but it doesn't match up with what, Lisa was talking about, like what you want. And for me, I really wanted more flexibility. And I'm very intrigued by the internet and how it works. So that was a different kind of thing for me to tap.
The Amazon model.
Not more
Meaning
like
all
the
online.
online boutique,
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Well, thank you. Okay, then we'll turn it over to Adriana. Adriana, you started and built a technology to really empower new moms, right? With the pump-in bra. Just to hear and to see the vision of that and the end result, what do you see next? How has that been something? I know moms are probably thanking you for what you have created and the success that it has done. Are you getting feedback now to say, I would love if you could do X, Y, Z now for us?
Yeah. So I think one of the things, right, and that's why I started with I'm not a mom, but because I'm not a mom, that has from the very beginning allowed me to really hear the stories of so many moms and kind of take a little bit of a step back and really listen to their stories, listen to how they think things should be or could have been but weren't. And through that user research, that was kind of like a lot of the fuel that motivated, to even start the company. And now we've continued that into like our kind of company culture. It's part of our product design. It was such a big part of our product design phase, and now it's such a big part of like our customer success program. So we are always reaching out to moms, now the moms that have the product, constantly engaging with, how are things going, and beyond, with the bra is like, but a lot of moms tell us, and for instance, this one mom said, it feels sometimes that I'm here alone taking care of my child and that nobody's taking care of me. But what I love about you guys is it feels like you're taking care of me. So I don't know, things like that are really motivating. And of course, then we take those opportunities to think about, well, what comes next, right? For us, this is kind of just the starting point. And we think that we have a big opportunity to address different things that women are experiencing in the postnatal phase. And that will kind of continue, I think, to be a big part of how we operate the company. So how does that look like? New products, a support network of other like partners, connecting moms to lactation services. That's kind of all something that we're constantly thinking about and that we will let our users guide us.
Now, is there competition in that space? Or are you like the unique one right now?
Well, with our first product, there's a few other companies that are starting to do something similar because now there's a lot of research that shows that massage really helps. But the breast pumping space was ignored for many years. Like it was a very stagnant space for like decades. And I think it's only in the past 5 years that we're starting to see more innovation in the space. And the way I see it is that the more companies that focus on making it easier for moms to breastfeed and reach their breastfeeding goals, the richer this market is going to be.
Excellent. Great. Okay, now Charisse, you talked about the French toast. Okay. And you heard what Avi said about getting compliments about it, and she decided to do something. Where did French toast come from? Are you good at making it, or is that your favorite food, or?
Yes, I am good at making French toast, but not the French toast that I serve in the food service arena. I managed the Lansdale Farmers Market for 7 years. I just recently resigned in June because I couldn't do both anymore. So in that time, I had an opportunity to see independent food producers living their dream, making hundreds of thousands of dollars under these white tents. So I have a daughter, she's 13, she'll be 14. She's 13, so she essentially grew up in farmers markets, right? So every year she would say, I want to have a business in a farmers market. But an 8-year-old telling you that you want a business in a farmers market is like me having one. I was like, no. So when she was 12, she said, I want to have a lemonade business in the farmer's market. I was like, I think she can do lemonade by herself. Okay, that's fine. How are you going to make it local? Because lemons aren't grown in Pennsylvania, and a requirement to have to participate in area farmers markets, you have to have a local component. And so she said, I'll just ask the farmers for their fruit. I was like, what are you going to do when it's not fruit season? She said, mint. I was like, okay, no problem. She did it. She was wildly successful, and the farmers ended up just giving her their seconds. Overripe, couldn't sell them, bruised, because she would just chop it up. So to answer your question, she participated in the Lansdale Farmers Market for 14 weeks, and she made $5,000. That's more than I made as a manager. So I see I see the producers, I see my daughter. I said, oh no, I want to see what life is like on the other side of the tent. And everyone likes my French toast. Let's see how far we can go with it.
Well, I have to say, it's not even a year yet, your success. She did mention that her stand was in front of City Hall, which is my home. And so I would walk by your stand all the time, and the aroma that would come from your stand and seeing the lines, and I'm like, what is that, you know? And you got tons of media.
Yes.
Tons of media that would come out during that festival, so I think that helped as well.
The media, the two things I've been very successful, aiding my success, was my relationship with the media and my relationship with the universities I'm affiliated with. Temple University, School of Sport, Tourism, Hospitality, overwhelmingly supportive, huge resource. I'm getting my MBA at St. Joe's, the only food marketing program in the world. They put me on the cover of their brochure. It's a bad picture, but I'm there. And so the schools that I've affiliated myself with over the past 20 years have really aided in that. So between media and education, which is unlikely, you know, I wanted people to know this wasn't a mistake, this wasn't an accident, this was very thought out and very deliberate.
Well, every one of you here in the audience could give a different definition of success. And so to me, success is all about relationships, building and maintaining those relationships, and networking, because it's not always who you know, but it is who you know that knows what you know to help you get over that. You had mentioned that you know people and family and whatnot, so, and working with the community. So all of that helps keep elevating you to where you need to be. And I applaud each and every one of you for that. Okay, we are out of time, ladies. Yes, already.
Thank you.
But we are now going to give you an opportunity to stretch, get up, network. We're going to take a quick 5-10 minute break. There's coffee and juice and whatnot over there. Take a break for the restrooms, and we will resume back here in just 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. Thank you. All right, we'll get it. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. We have an amazing after program session now. We are honored to have with us, we talked this morning with our 3 inspiring future continuous leaders that are doing incredible things in all different sectors. As Betsy had mentioned, I serve as the city representative for Mayor Jim Kenney. Prior to that, I worked 25 years at Independence Blue Cross and switched careers from healthcare to I say government, but I'm not really a politician at all, but I am a public servant. I'm always giving back. And Mayor Kenney is a strong believer and a supporter of investing in female leaders. A lot of his top leader positions are held by females within the administration. He has also created a whole new initiative under our workforce development, and we are really, really proud of that. We also have appointed a women's commission that he has created under his new administration, so he gets it. And I am so proud to work for someone under the mayor who believes in what we are all here for today with the League for Entrepreneurial Women 20 years later. But here with us this morning, we have the wonderful Shirley Moy. Shirley is an inspiration to all of us, and she is a proud Temple staffer as well. Yay, Temple, with decades of experience in the workforce development. Now, she is also, everyone has your programs here, so you can read all about it, but her exact title now, it's only been about a year or so, Shirley, is the executive director right here for Temple University's LenFest North Philadelphia Workforce Initiative. So Shirley, tell us what that actually means.
Yes. And so I have to say is kind of you talk about expectations, following up with those wonderful women that came before me. So hopefully I can share a little bit more about my story.
A lot more.
So even though I am a Temple grad, in addition to working with Temple, but not from the Fox School of Business, I'm with the graduate of '88 from the School of Social Administration in Planning and Management. So actually I'm on the nonprofit side of it, but I think a lot of the skills that you're required to be an entrepreneur is also a requirement to run a nonprofit organization, which I have been doing for Temple for off and on for 20 years. This new position opened up the opportunity to transfer to a different job in July in 2018, but still related to the work that I was doing previously. So the university was grateful for it being a recipient of a award from the Lenfest Foundation.
Right. That's
And
huge. That's
it's
a big
huge.
deal.
It's
Very big deal.
And in the first year that they wanted to give the money to, they wanted to give something equivalent to what they were giving the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative, which is about $5 million over a few years. When they came to Temple and asked us what we wanted to do around workforce development, there was a small group of people who were already doing this work that we got together. And I think through conversations, we realized we don't know what we would do with $2 million. That there was only a small group of us that came together. So to speak for what the university would do for North Philadelphia with that much money, we really had to step back and said we want to do a period of understanding. What is needed, what's already being done, how can we do it better, how can we enhance what's already being done in the community. And so with 1 year of engaging in this period of discovery with Philadelphia Works, with the Economy League of Greater Philadelphia, we ended up with a guide. It's available on our website. We've had a few events that we did, to publicly share this data. And so then we were able to position ourselves to go back to the Lenfest Foundation in June, this past June, and ask for some additional funding for programs that we think would support this idea of helping North Philadelphians surrounding Temple University and Temple University Hospital to gain employment in careers with family-sustaining wages. And so the Lenfest Foundation awarded us $3.2 million over the next 2 years, and I'm fortunate to be able to figure out how do we distribute that money in a way that's thoughtful, engages the community in a respectful way, and that it leads to really careers that are family-sustaining wages.
So how best then can the people in this community, in this neighborhood, best utilize this initiative?
Yeah, so one, I think I love Lisa's comment, because if you think about North Philadelphia and the people that live in this community, each of them have stories to tell. Each of them have their own challenges. And so just embracing Lisa's comments about know what you want. And so not very often, but sometimes when we ask North Philadelphians and people in general, even students, what do you want? They might say, I just want a job. But that's not the answer. What is that job? How is it going to advance your life? What is that's passionate about you so you're not working at a job, but you're working at something you're really passionate about? And so some of Lisa's comments about know what you want, anti-fragility, go after it, because you have tons of things that you need to overcome in your life. Burdens, challenges, messages in your head that said you can't do it, and then really feeling satisfied that what you do is enough and that you have done your best to achieve the goals that you want.
So adding to that then, Shirley, what do you feel is your most accomplished so far in this current position that you have that you're really proud of?
Wow, that's a big, so I would say there's a personal level and a professional level. When I applied, I have to say, this job, even though I was working at Temple University, was not a gimme job. It was competitively put out there, and I had to self-talk to myself. I wasn't going to apply for it. I was very comfortable in kind of a second position role or not being a leader of a big organization, and I had to do a self-talk. Why am I not applying for this job? Do I feel like I'm not good enough? Do I think other candidates are better than me? And so through that self-talk, I realized, no, let me apply. Why am I stopping myself from the opportunity for being considered? Let other people make that decision about whether I'm qualified or not. So that was, I think, a big accomplishment for myself, is to, get rid of that self-doubt, overcome.
And we all have that.
We all have that.
Yeah.
Get rid of that crisis of confidence, and say, yeah, you're good enough. You can apply. Let other people see that about yourselves. But I think the other accomplishment is that the strategies that we're deploying for the LenFest North Philadelphia Workforce Initiative is not about Temple saying, I'm the expert and we're going to do everything. Right. It is a collaborative process. It's engaging 16 different organizations, 5 departments in the university. That's not just our department. And so this collaborative, collective impact that I think we're going to have, that I see evidence of it, that's really what I see as a big accomplishment.
So now, are there any barriers that you're facing so far to keep it moving along?
My professor in the School of Social Work always talked about free zone planning. And so what he meant is, like, very often we think barriers are there, but they're not real barriers. We may think that there are policies or procedures, but they only, for me, meant that there's a policy procedures that we need to challenge and overcome. So when I think about barriers, I think more about what are the things that we need to plan and get rid of those barriers so that they become assets and helpful. And I would say a big barrier is that people need to see North Philadelphia as assets, instead of saying, oh, these poor people here and they're like underprivileged and that, but see them for the value that they have. They're dedicated workers, they have a lot of potential, they're talented, and so how can employers see this talent in North Philadelphia and hire locally, including the university? Yeah. So one of the things that university has a goal is, of all the employees at Temple University, 10% live in North Philadelphia. And so how can we challenge the university to increase that percentage to 10, to 15, to 20? And how can we leverage our resources as a with all our buying power, with all the vendors that do business, to challenge them? How many of your people you employ are from North Philadelphia? And not just like Aramark and Ally Universities are great vendors that do business with Philadelphia, Temple, and they hire for entry-level positions a lot from North Philadelphia. But my challenge to them is, what about those management positions? Are they getting into those things that are full-time jobs with benefits that are having those higher wages? So I think that is something that we also want to work on.
Great. It's amazing to me, and you as well, Shirley, being a Temple grad, class of 1991, but knowing the revitalization now of what is happening on North Broad Street. Starting down past City Hall, you have the new Met,
yeah.
A brand new, if you haven't been there, check that out. The Divine Lorraine, all the restaurants that are all moving up, the new housing, the buildings, and knowing that it's a lot of the community that have been here forever, the residents are now the ones that are now staffing these great places that we are experiencing here on North Broad Street, and to see as a rise in the employment, and thanks to all the great work that you are doing. Now, I guess when you came here and graduated from Temple, did you see yourself forecasted being an employee of Temple University?
I would say, well, I had the fortune, I love Temple, go Owls.
Yeah.
But I would say, well, my professor at the School of Social Work hired me before I even graduated. And so I think he saw the talent that I had, which was largely good writing skills, good logical thinking, being able to do those project management. And so I worked for Temple right after I graduated for 10 years, moved out of the country for a few years, and then when I moved back to the city of Philadelphia, luckily Temple decided to take me back, and I bleed cherry and white. That's good.
Yes.
So do I.
Always. So then, I guess, Shirley, what do you see then are some of the next steps for the LenFest Foundation and what you'll be working on here in the Workforce Initiative?
Yeah, so again, the LenFest Foundation has been the biggest supporter, but I think it's all about sustainability, and I think those are skills even as an entrepreneur you care about. How are you going to sustain your business? As a nonprofit department or agency, we're also thinking about that. How are you going to sustain the programs that you have, the staff that you have, increase the opportunities to grow and do very innovative things? So again, it's about sustainability, whether that's increasing opportunities for writing proposals for local or state or federal funding. That's our part of the whole nonprofit management world.
Great. Yeah. I'm going to open it up now to the audience, because this is why you're here, to be able to network and ask some questions. So let's turn the floor to you. If there's anyone who would like to ask Shirley some questions about the Workforce Initiative that's currently going on here at Temple University.
Hi, good morning.
You want to stand up, please? Say your name and where you're from.
Sure. My name is Whitney Harris. I run Wolford HR Consulting. We support small businesses with their human capital strategy. I just have a question about how you're engaging the local community, because often we refer to them as them and we want to place them. But when you're having those conversations in the boardroom, how are you bringing them into the room to speak to what they believe they need? And then also, you mentioned higher paying jobs. Is there a career track, an obvious career track, that you can take someone from saying, I don't know what I want to do, to I know what I want to do, I'm in the right seat, I'm going to progress forward.
Thank you, Whitney. I think that's an important question because, in full disclosure, I don't think it's a secret that Temple University doesn't necessarily have the best relationship with the North Philadelphia community. And so being respectful that it is, I grew up in North Philadelphia. I grew up at 2nd and Diamond. And so that's one of the passions that I have about this job, is that it represents the community that I also had grew up in as a young child during my elementary school years. But so them is like recognizing that the university doesn't have this great relationship all the time is very respectful, because I've gone to meetings with community groups. So one of the reasons that we wanted to do this approach in a community engaged way is that we have gone to community groups in parents at schools, at Philadelphia Housing Authority, and met with the residents. We've gone to mosques, we've gone to churches, and so we've gone into organizations that have invited us in to talk to their constituents and to find out what is the challenges that they see in terms of opportunities they want that they can't get into, or some of the challenges they see in their community, not with only their family, but in their community, that we can help address in collaboration with them. And so I think that is partly the thing, but it's also, when I go to those meetings often, people start off and say, oh, Temple's doing this, is not good, it's got the stadium and all this stuff. And I can't deny that those are feelings. I have to recognize that and say, yes, Temple hasn't been always a great neighbor, and they have had these conflicts, but we're here today to talk about workforce and how can we be supported given this resource in your community. And so going back to your second question, I hope that answered your first question, but back to your second question about careers, I would say, we're addressing 8 zip codes in North Philadelphia, which is huge. And so we realized everybody in North Philadelphia doesn't have the same career goals, and not everybody has the same challenges, and everybody has different assets. So trying to provide a medley of services, a menu of opportunities is really a challenge. So we recognize, and again, very often we try to be strengths-based and recognize the strengths of a community rather than the negative part. But there are some realities that people face in terms of barriers to employment. So 1 out of 4 North Philadelphians, adults, do not have the high school equivalency. So we're doing different programs at Temple to help them get their high school equivalency. These are all programs that are free. We're one of the 4 state-related, one of the 4 state-funded programs to help people get their high school diploma. So there also is another way of getting your high school diploma besides GED and high set certification, is that if you earn 30 college credits, you can apply to the state and get your high school degree. And so we have a relationship with Goodwill Industries, just paying for the 30 college credits that are coming out of CCP. And so those are kinds of things. Then if you talk about along the other career paths, there's training to help people get industry recognized certification. Right now we're working with PHA with 12 men and 2 women to get into the electrical field with the Electrical Association of Philadelphia. And we're also doing a training with District 11 INC around community health workers. Those are the things that we're doing at Temple. But with our partners, they're doing things like certified peer specialists, they're doing training around property management guru, perinatal community health workers. So there's lots of different opportunities for folks. Are we the answer to everything? No. But at least we're able to say this is what Temple wants to, is being a partner with. And we hope the North Philadelphians take advantage of those opportunities.
Thank you. So how, then Shirley, how does the job market really for North Philadelphia compare to that of the city overall after hearing that?
Poorly. I mean, if you look at in the data that's available in here, there's a lot of information about, I know that there's some people that are in the tech field. And so I think in terms of what we looked at in North Philadelphia, a lot of the people living in North Philadelphia are in retail or sales. But in the future, if you think about retail and sales, right, cashiers are going away, right? We have a whole Amazon store that you can just walk in and walk out without ever engaging in a retail person. And so those kind of things, telling people these information so that they can adjust their career to a way that it's going to address what the future market's going to look like is really important.
Great, thank you. Anyone else in the audience have some questions for Shirley? Yes, please stand. Say your name
and I do, actually, my business is marketing and promotion. What I wanted to find out from the question from there, piggybacking, and all the information that you're giving, how are you really getting that to the inner community, the relationship with individual people? Like if you go to the supermarket, the bank, or any other thing, you can actually say, Temp was offering this and these things, but you need to have outreach, and the outreach person should really be connected in relationship with your community. So that's kind of missing sometimes, is that the word is not gotten out to our community people, and where it would be through the churches, through the banks, through the beauty salons, the barbershops, etc.
Ms. Willis, you are right on. So when we talked, we had table talks in the community, and one of the things that, a finding, for lack of a research term, not a good word, but one of the things that we asked folks about is, what do you want? And so they would often say, we want a GED program. Why doesn't Temple do this? And knowing what Temple does, it's like, I know Temple does this, but the question then turns to, how are you getting the information? Or how are we not getting the information to you in a way that can be really sink into the community? And so the place that we had it was right here in one of the public housing sites. And I saw our flyers. Temple had all their flyers up there. And so when they were asking about why doesn't we do this, I said, there's a flyer right there. Did you notice the flyer? It was a question. It wasn't an accusation. It was a question about why did this not translate into understanding what the resources are? And the answer they got, I think, was very telling for me. They're saying they get hundreds of flyers. Doesn't mean anything, because they don't know what's behind that flyer, whether it's going to welcome them, whether the people that they are in that program or some people that they want to relate to. And so the idea of community engagement is really critical. We do have to go to those organizations, and that's why, we're taking this approach. I am hiring a community outreach worker. That community outreach worker will be a resident of North Philadelphia. There is an organization that we engaged, that we're providing a subcontract to, called To Serve, which is in 19140, and they are dealing with the business corridor on Germantown Avenue. And so those are kind of strategies. Can we do more? Absolutely, because it's a large population, over 200,000 people. And people receive information differently. They might have access to technology. They may not be connected to the right networks to get information. And so you're right on, and I appreciate your point of view. Thank you.
And thank you again, Ms. Wills. And Shirley, I think that pretty much is the time, is that we're finished with the time. But that's great to know that you now will have an additional staff person with a community outreach coordinator working in the community on behalf of your project with the Lenfest Foundation. But once again, let's give a round, Philly warm Temple. Thank you to Shirley.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. I hope you got some sound bites and takeaways to learn from the program this morning, and I'm honored to be here.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, I'm Ellen Weber, and I want to thank Sheila for your really masterful job emceeing, and to Shirley for inspiring us with everything that you're doing. So, entrepreneurship occurs all across the spectrum. People are in all different stages of entrepreneurship. And in this next segment, which we call Power Pitches, you're going to see 3 up-and-coming Temple entrepreneurs introduce their startups and tell the community about how we can help them. So featured in this order are Oletan Awomolo, Alina Kuturyanka, and Sherry Smith-Jackson. They're each going to talk about what their company does, what the value is, and how the community can help them. So they're going to come up now, and we are asking you to please support them in any way you can, whether it's introducing them to board members, making introductions to customers, contributing to their Kickstarter campaigns, or even providing funding. So please welcome our Power Pitchers.
Hello, everyone. My name is Oletan Awomolo, and I am a co-founder of BuildLab. BuildLab is a technology company that makes collaboration software for the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. The reason we do this really is because collaboration in this industry is a real problem. It accounts for project failure up to 30% of the time, and just costs a lot of money annually. As the industry really moves into the digital realm, a lot of the work we do is digital. Existing tools do not effectively facilitate design collaboration, and they're also so expensive. A commonly used tool costs about $20,000 a year for an annual license, and small firms that make up 70% of the AEC firms in the US can't afford to pay that much for software. So then, this is where we come in. BuildLab makes a simple, effective tool that allows small architecture and engineering project teams manage their project information and keep track of their project changes throughout the entire design process. A couple of our milestones since the BYOBB event, which we won at the beginning of the year. This has been a really exciting year for us. We participated in the Summer Startup Studio that IEI hosted over the summer, and were part of the demo day in that program. We were recently awarded a Startup PHL grant from the city's venture program for $15,000, which we've used to expand our team. We have a project associate who's now a part of our team, and we are continually expanding our advisory board, looking for, in particular, we're looking for people who have expertise with technical project development to kind of help us and guide us through as we try to develop our product. And also we were finalists for the Code Launch event in Frisco, Texas at the end of summer. So if you have this sort of expertise, please reach out to me. I'm standing over there in the corner, and looking forward to it's been great listening to all this, and looking forward to listening to the other pitches and milestones as well. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Alina Kuduransky, and I'm really excited to be here today on behalf of Halix. Halix is your digital shopping partner that always keeps it real. And so not only am I excited to be here to talk about Halix, but this is also the first pitch that I'm doing without my co-founder here. And her name is Holly, but she's not here, and that means I get to tell you all really embarrassing things about her, and she will never know. So let's talk about Holly. Holly is 5'10", and she is a size small, and she's beautiful. And Holly is really into Halloween. So a couple of years ago for Halloween, Holly was really inspired by Beyonce in her music video where she has the bat and the yellow dress. So being as though there's no yellow dress store, Holly went online where there are pretty much unlimited options to find that dress. And she settled on that dress. And she settled on it because the reviews, several of them were left by people who were Holly's height or taller. So she figured that would be a safe purchase. And when the dress came, we very quickly realized that if she were to actually ever wear it, she would be arrested for indecent exposure, because that dress is actually what she's wearing as a shirt. It doesn't even look like the same dress, but we called the company, it indeed was. So Holly's not the only person that struggles when they make a purchase based on reviews and those reviews fail them. A lot of the times it happens to a lot of us, and that's why Halix came into existence. Halix combines pre-purchasers and post-purchasers, allowing them to review and preview articles of clothing before they make a purchase so this doesn't happen. So how it works is like this. First, we take all the available reviews for an item and we aggregate them into one spot. We then authenticate Halix users to make sure they are not affiliated with the company, and we also go through and authenticate the reviews that we've collected. Then, based on authenticated reviews and the information that we know about you, we can offer a really customized and personalized experience where we can sort of give you a preview of how an item might fit you. So, what that preview process will look like is like this. So you'll tell us a little bit about yourself, your sizing, and what your interests are, and then based on your measurements, the reviews that you've left about things, as well as other people's reviews that are similar to you, we'll be able to tell you that these are things that you might be interested in that may fit you really well. How you can become a part of Helix if you're interested in doing so is to help us by being a beta tester. Currently, we're testing our review platform, so you can go to reviews.helix.com, leave a test review. You can follow us on social media at Helix_reviews on Instagram, or you can reach out to us via email. Let us know your thoughts, any feedback that you have. We love being criticized, and we welcome all of it. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Sherry Smith-Jackson, and I am founder of Pay It Forward Live, the app that keeps on giving. This began because my teenage son has the task of finding community service projects and having to keep a record of them to remain in good standing for his school, Boy Scouts, any other the numerous organizations he's a part of. This seems simple, right? Well, it's wrong. The process to verify his hours, he needs to take a piece of paper with him to the community service project, track down the coordinator, have them verify that he was there for a certain amount of hours. So what Pay It Forward Live does, it's a mobile app where it will make it easy for both volunteer and organization to keep track of these hours, and also help them find opportunities to volunteer. Here you will see how volunteers, organizations, and corporations all benefit from Pay It Forward Live. They all get a positive image, they increase their engagement, it tracks their hours and projects, and therefore having a bigger impact on the community. We have raised $40,000 to begin development of Pay It Forward Live. We are now available in iOS, the Apple Store, and we are ready for pilot. Look at your network. Do you know anyone that's in an organization, an educational institution, or corporation that will benefit from keeping track of the impact their members are making? My email, contact@payitforwardlive, you can jot that down, and introduce me to that network, and let's all see everyone Pay It Forward Live. Thank you.
Okay. I want to thank again our 3 power pitches. That was just terrific. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Lisa Vaccarelli to lead us through the next important segment of this morning. So a little bit about Lisa. Lisa is the Associate Vice President for Alumni Relations at Temple University, where she leads a team charged with tapping into the vast Temple alumni network by creating exciting and unique opportunities for owls to connect with the university and with each other. So despite completing her own degree at another Philadelphia institution, she spent the last 4 years falling hard for the cherry and white, thanks in large part to the extraordinary thinkers, doers, creators, and innovators she's met and worked with throughout the alumni community. Prior to joining Temple, Vaccarelli worked in alumni relations at the University of Pennsylvania, where she received her Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and her Master's of Science in Education. So when she's not cheering on the Owls, both on and off the court, she frequents one of her favorite local parks. She lives in South Philadelphia with her husband and 2 daughters. Both have considered themselves Hooter the Owl's best friend. Lisa.
That was quite the introduction. Well, I am excited to be here, and I want to thank the organizers of the event for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this truly inspiring event. This is my 3rd or 4th time here, and each year I feel more inspired when I leave. So a bit about the 2019 Hall of Fame. In November 2003, the League established the Temple University Hall of Fame, recognizing entrepreneurship, excellence, and leadership in the community. The Women's Hall of Fame recognizes Temple alumni for their outstanding achievements as innovators, entrepreneurs, and leaders in industry. Each year, the League has inducted alumni who have exhibited these accomplishments and continue to make strides as prominent leaders in their fields. These women serve as role models for Temple students and alumni with entrepreneurial aspirations, many of whom you've already heard from or are in the room today. The first recipient that I would like to honor is Dr. Donna Lynn Scarrett. Dr. Scarrett's experience includes 20 years of leadership and accomplishment in both medical and academia and the pharmaceutical industry. Presently, she serves as Chief Medical Officer for Paradigm Biopharmaceuticals Limited, a public company developing pharmaceuticals for inflammatory and degenerative diseases. Previously, she served as Chief Medical Officer of Mesoblast Limited, a public company developing cell-based therapies for tissue disrepair. Dr. Scarrett serves on the Board of Visitors for the Lewis Katz School of Medicine here at Temple University and the Board of Directors of Fox Chase Cancer Center. She served as an advisor for the New York State Department of Health Progenitor Cell Committee, the Executive Committee for the Alliance for Regenerative Medicine, and as the chair of the Governor's Council on Blood and Transfusion Services. Presenting her the award today is Nina Weisford, the Chief Advancement Officer for the Katz School of Medicine and Temple Health.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I'm very grateful to the organizers for including me and honoring me on this occasion. Having heard the keynote address this morning, I had a couple of thoughts, and particularly because I'm a little older generationally than some of the people here in the audience, and so my story, it differs a little bit. I think as I grew up, education was obviously a priority, and as was service, and I'm not sure we always thought, about happiness and personal initiatives, but looking back, I can see that the important things that helped send me forward were really understanding what I wanted and what that focus was. I like to joke with family and friends about having lost almost a decade of my life while I was studying for boards and raising a young child. And so sometimes things will even come up now that relate to the 90s, and I just don't know what they were. I also was very touched by the comment about anti-fragility. I think I'm probably very much the embodiment of an anti-fragile individual. There are so many things that get thrown at you, and if you're not committed to yourself and to your own personal goals, you will topple over. So anti-fragility is an absolute attribute that we all should value. And then I like to also think about the abundance. I'm very, very grateful for what I've been able to achieve, obviously acknowledging the people who brought me into this world. I had a wonderful family, and then many people in the community. And for all of the sort of negative events, there's so many more people who are positive and encouraging and help us all to be better individuals and leave this world as a better place. So thank you all.
The next honoree is Samantha Berger. Samantha is the award-winning author of over 85 books for young readers and a twice Emmy-nominated television writer. She's published books with many renowned publishing companies, including Little Brown and Company and Scholastic. And she has amazing glasses. She currently writes for Sesame Street and Communities and Sesame Street International, taking on challenging subjects like childhood homelessness and foster care. Samantha is a 2019 We Need Diverse Books mentor, picture book educator, keynote speaker, and visits hundreds of classrooms each year. A Philly native, Samantha received her bachelor's degree in English with a concentration in creative writing right here at Temple University. Presenting the award to Samantha is Rich Deeg, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts.
Hi, everybody. I naturally have a very projecting voice, so I'm not sure if I need this mic, but we'll use it anyway. I am so very honored to be here today. I was born right here in Philly, PA. I grew up on the Mummers and peak Dr. J. I used to run steps the Rocky two-way. I came up on hoagies and jimmies and Wooder. When I went to Temple, soft pretzels were $0.25. I came up on the Eggles and Power 99. I had a dream in my head and a goal to make mine. I felt so lucky that I always knew exactly what I wanted to do. Tell stories, write books, perform, and make art. I was in training for that life to start. I had this big plan at a very young age, and I thought that life's plan was what you put on the page. But that's not always the way that life works. Life shuffles and shifts, it changes and jerks. My life took a detour when my parents declared war. Their epic and evil and ugly divorce threw my life all the way off its course. Custody battles and endless long fights, judges and courtrooms and dark sleepless nights. I ended up switching schools every year, moving and fleeing in fear. All of my focus and drive and straight A's, all of my dreams and my plans went ablaze. And now I was flailing. And now I was failing. My health became dire. My life was on fire. And at the top peak of this very big mess, when my life was in constant distress, and I truly didn't know what to do, Temple said, "We believe in you." Because brotherly love and sisterly love goes beyond and above. And when I did not believe in me, Temple was there, and they could see, "Girl, you're gonna shine so bright. Take this cherry and white and fight, fight, fight." And they were there every single day, letting me shine my very own way. I worked and worked and worked my caboose, and in 1991, they turned me loose. I was born in Philly, PA. I am cracked like the bell, but I am still okay. Now I live in New York and LA. I've published 88 books with more on the way. I write for TV and Sesame Street, but my life is far from complete. I am about helping the next voices shine and helping out others like Temple helped mine. When you look at the person next to you, realize what one act of kindness can do. Believe in someone else today. Help their dreams live and not slip away. One last thing before I'm gone. Thank you, Temple. This award is the John.
Spoken like only a children's book author can, I believe. Congratulations, Samantha. Our third honoree today is Aisha Chaudhry. Aisha is a trusted podiatrist, entrepreneur, and philanthropist dedicated to the success of the School of Podiatric Medicine and its students. Dr. Chaudhry founded and currently operates 4 practices in the Philadelphia area: Advanced Care Podiatry and Pennsylvania Foot and Ankle Associates. Recently, she added another venture, the Pennsylvania Surgery and Laser Center, a state-of-the-art surgical center in Ben Salem, Pennsylvania. Dr. Chaudhry is also board certified by the American Board of Podiatric Medicine. A 2-time alumna, she holds degrees from the College of Liberal Arts and the School of Podiatric Medicine, and completed her residency at Cooper University Hospital in Camden, New Jersey. Presenting the award to Aisha is John Mariachi, Dean of the School of Podiatric Medicine.
Thank you for having me here today. I appreciate it. I just want to thank everyone who's helped me get here, my family, my coworkers, my colleagues, and Dean Mariachi. He's a true mentor, and he's a great leader. They've helped get me where I am today, and I appreciate all they've done. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Lisa, for so ably highlighting our honorees' accomplishments, and congratulations to all the Hall of Fame honorees. So thank you all again for joining us for this special 20th Annual League for Entrepreneurial Women, one of the premier events celebrating entrepreneurship in the Philadelphia region. Entrepreneurship and innovation is a cornerstone of the Temple experience. Our goal is to create an entrepreneurial mindset across the university. Our entrepreneurship programs, academic, co-curricular, and research, are moving across campus, expanding in scope, and involving more students, faculty, and alumni each semester. I'm thrilled to tell you about some of the programs that's supporting women entrepreneurs at Temple. The Lori Hermelin Bush Seed Fund, helping women-led student companies at Temple. We're so grateful to Lori for her generous contribution. The Women's Entrepreneurial Organization, a cross-campus group of women student entrepreneurs. We offer a course, Empowering Women Through Entrepreneurship, which we'll be offering as a gen ed class soon. We want to again thank the partners and sponsors for today's event, the Office of the Provost, the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Institute, Fox School of Business, the Cyber Program, the School of Tourism and Hospitality Management, and Alumni Affairs. I want to thank our inspiring keynote speaker, Lisa Wang, the wonderful Temple Tale presenters, our 3 wonderful power pitchers, our phenomenal interviewer, City Representative Sheila Hess, and our internal innovator, Shirley Moy. I'd also like to thank Betsy Leebron Tutelman and Betsy Barber for their tremendous leadership and vision in creating the League for Entrepreneurial Women, and for their efforts in planning this wonderful event. By the way, today is Betsy Tutelman's birthday, so please wish her a happy birthday. I'd also like to thank all of those who made this event a reality: Deborah Blair, Christy Bannon, Ann Bayless, and I do this every time, Elisa Stasi on the committee, and Patrick Hennessy and Cynthia Smith, who provided great support, and to all the volunteers from various organizations. And a really special thank you to Erin McShay and to Lindsay Clark, also committee members, but who have been working day and night to make this event a success. Finally, I'd like to take this opportunity to ask all of you to help us support our next generation of women entrepreneurs. You can do this by agreeing to be personal mentors, to be judges and mentors of companies participating in our competitions. You can volunteer to participate in events. You can tell your story to students who are hungry to know what it takes to be successful in the working world. We always say, if you can see it, you can be it, and so we're happy to have so many entrepreneurs in this audience. We look forward to seeing you next year. I invite you now to enjoy us for a few minutes of networking. Thank you, everyone.